Nyankopɔn ama yɛ nneɛma bebree a ɛda ne tumi adi sɛdeɛ nnua no ɛredi maa yɛ no. There are so many truths about what the Bible is saying. But when we look at this world, we see say nneɛma a ɛkɔ so nneɛma bɔne no yɛ adɔɔso. Sometimes we tend to think about where is God? Where is God in all this? Why is God so silent and watching these bad things happening? And most of the times, my sermons, visiting nature. We can't remember, the first one we visited the ants. Today, we are going to visit the hummingbird. Hummingbird, Nichi Kasami say Asrewa. Asrewa sikensu, yani empening for a kasi sikensu, nemrane. Because Asrewa eduane, insu, sika. It's a nectar. So reading back in Romans chapter 1, verses 20, me try some make fast kakranti. Me am fire in this na. Me ti hona me kati some of the stories. So the be a time no kakra. Romans chapter 1, verses 20. Or say, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. You can't she no or say if you bra onyankopon bo wiase no ni tumi a wokoda no ne ne nyame su no adadi nipa nam onyankopon abode so tumi hu sa nioma yi. So if we really want to understand the magnitude of God's power, the best thing is to visit nature. The best thing is to see what is happening around us, and then we are going to understand that magnitude of God's power. So today we are going to visit the hummingbird, learn its ways, learn its life, and then we're going to come back and reflect it in our lives today. But before you bet me take the hummingbird, the life of the hummingbird, as you know, we need to have a discernment of heart. There's a pour the heart and in nyansa emaye, because we believe say ye nipa su ye ko emoa ete biemu a ye hia adwene ni nyansa ni hunumu a bet me dia tesa enoma we ase. But scientists, science, research bebree amaye ya ebetimi edi enuma ebeboa ye ne apensen mu ene. Let us pray. Ora Yesu emraso so wangasa besane no aba be chirechire yen bi ya adwene mu yintimi nte body ase o Yesu Kristo de monti. Amen. This is the fact about the hummingbird. Studies show that there are about 300 species of hummingbirds. Meka asrewa ye omu ahoro about 300 ahasa. But these birds are blessed with dazzling colors. Colors baby, especially say we are taught neswa. Senani colors no change. It's beautiful. It is a little miracle of God. Now, it is very small. It is about the size of the adult finger, the thumb. Kitwa pa no be se yen thumb sana ne kesieti. Very, very small. And it's about the length of our index finger. And so to say index finger. Nature so ye aboa usape. Now dear one said this animal beats its wings about 60 to 80 times per second. Yentieni. Sabo way too. Now what the nano kwaku run in nectar manasa flower be na opeso de nanu no watching in siona or bona tabemu over 60 to 80 times per second, and yet per minute, per second. This means even scientists also use machines normally slow down the flap to be able to count, because it far exceeds that motion. It exceeds what the human eye can perceive. And the scientists will say, "With me, born at time 60 to 80 times." They didn't know yes, because opeso remaining still. Meaning says aboa way ahoden a wodi tu no, it's less than ahoden a wodi remaining stable. A lesson to us. Or catch say it is more difficult to be stable than to move. That is what it is saying to us right now. And you say nipa, if we are going to use this incredible amount of energy to stay still, meaning say we are going to burn into flames, because the amount of energy aboa with this remaining still, no, it's very incredible. This animal is very swift. Mekai say misano na me admire aboa with sa na because near two more tie near kotai at all. And I love this animal. I loved killing these animals because no one me fe. Inti e kotai at all, I mean animal penny for a chase and I was just around the flowers looking for hummingbirds to kill them. But Mr. D who said the only time a boy which me a tono, a boy man a cano, a mra what to know then no a flower no. That is the time the animal is stable. Okay, now because he's not moving, and I say it is not moving, but of flapping the wings 80 times per second just to be able to hover. Said the beak, you know, because most of the flowers tokroni and the answer remaining very still in order to say wait me the beak and a flower no nectar. It will hear incredible amount of energy to be able to do this. I believe by now you are asking how much calories does this animal burn in order to be able to do this? Like, it's incredible. We are saying, say, what about nipa fema? The amount of body size and body weight, no share energy about we burn here. What about nipa fema? A nipa person will follow that suit. As would be about 1,000 hamburgers. 1,000 hamburgers to be able to be in the shoes of this little hummingbird. Meaning that you are also going to take 60 liters of water into your hair. That is 1 liter. Ubenum about 60. Yemudu do say about 2 or 3 liters a day. To be able to keep up with that energy as the hummingbird, you have to consume 60 to 80, about 60 liters of water every day. That is serious. The researcher John Morton, he's a wildlife researcher and a birder. He said, were we to operate in the level of the hummingbird, our hearts have to beat 1,260 times every minute. And can say your normal heartbeat, about 45 to 60 every minute. But if we want to operate like the hummingbird, our heart will have to be beating 1,260 times a minute. Meaning, say our body temperature will go up to 385 degrees Celsius. Our body temperature is around 35, 37, 36. But if we are supposed to operate like the hummingbird, we are going to go 385 degrees Celsius. It's over 300%. Almost like 1,000%. This incredible creature Nyankopon born say yanko visit no ne yenhwe ekwan a ofa so operate no. Na adwene pa e da ne tirimete sen. Already I've told you it's about the size of the thumb, the adult thumb. And ne tenten so to say the index finger. So what about the size of the brain? The brain it is a grain of rice. Say we yi mo atoko. E mo aye no ayo, e no akra de aye etu ye kese. E mo a ye no aye just 1 grain. Stand ne brain ne kese ye. But you basically who say it does incredible amount of things. Shock you. So while I was studying about this hummingbird with its minute details and intricate design, the quotation Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 made sense to me. Say, God is saying, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and minds through Christ Jesus our Lord. Opeso chire say, emayen haye ho wo bibia ho de bibi se Nyankopon bia obema amaye. It is a Nyankopon timi abo we sonku with this little brain, no to me incredible amount of things. Yen nipa kra ye tena se near aboa we so hover over a flower, we will never fathom how God has really created this animal. Inti yen nipa, it is saying, aboa na drink to say a grain of rice. Yen nipa, ya dwene mi no te say the yaka yensa mi no abom. So aboa wait me ye nneoma we ya yen nipa den ene ebetimi aye. Yen nipa Nyankopon abo we ni suban so say ne say so. What can we achieve with this big brain in our minds? So I'm asking, does the hummingbird spend more energy to stay still than to fly? The answer is yes. Why God is admonishing us to stay still in our lives? We read the Bible now, be still, be still. So many times God is telling us to be still. Be still now, it needs incredible amount of energy. Because here we are saying, Bonia Ebibri, Numa Bonnie Nekoso, Obi Yo Bonnie, Yankopon say be still. Obi Bowasum, Yankopon say be still. A Juma Abba, but a Numa a DH no Etienne Yankopon say be still, don't move. It say be still. No, it means we need incredible amount of energy from God. And in this instance, our nectar is God Himself. As these hummingbirds take their energy, their fuel from the nectars that they suck from the flower, our nectar is feeding on God's power. It Nyankopon to me kese say the be a bit me de over what is going on in our world. Like I said, when the hummingbird flies, it appears completely motionless, like your eye cannot perceive if this animal is actually beating the flaps. And I wish the way a flaps needs to content them now. You cannot even see the flap. You only see the bird. The flap is so fast that it turns transparent. What you say? And one thing about them is they eat 2 hours every minute. They eat 2 hours on 2-hour basis. Every 2 hours, this animal has to get some fuel because of the way the heart beats so fast, and they have to burn so much calories. So every 2 hours, they have to eat. Then you're going to ask, if these animals have to eat every 2 hours, then how long do they have to sleep? Because if they have to sleep for 8 hours, how do they wake up within sleep to go for food or to feed? Who said these animals don't fly after 6 o'clock. In a sumunya bar, they need light to feed. A sumunya bar almost walk out for data. But idea yes from Kone say during the night, their temperature drops from 100 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Because why the temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, consuming more energy. They consume more, they burn more energy, and they need more food. But during this midnight, their temperature drops just like the weather. The weather no air drop off of no more temperature and so drop it. Meaning say their heartbeat also slows down. Their normal heartbeat during the day is 13 times per second. Into every second be the heartbeat. A content terms are, but during the night their heartbeat slows down to the normal heartbeat of human, like 1 per minute per second, 1 per second. Meaning they can sleep for 8 hours without consuming any food. God is truly amazing. One important thing that I want us to share about this beautiful bird is the hummingbird does not notice the stench of rotten food. Unlike the vulture only focuses on rotten food. The entire makers say there are some time in the year. Say flower no kwa. We know say there are sometimes flowers blossom and they come in, they feed on it, and all of a sudden you don't see them anymore. Where are they? They are able to travel over the ocean for days. They are able to travel over the oceans for days, several days. It is Africa, baby, no mobile, and the flowers no call because of the changes of season. They can travel over South America on the ocean non-stop. How much energy, how much food do these animals have to consume in order to travel that far? But Nyankopon ye sonko ye nwanwa force these animals with this little brain are able to travel that far. We look at our world, there seems to be no end to bad news. Every day, bad news, bad news, bad news. And the good thing is, there are still beautiful things that God is creating. And we are talking about these hummingbirds. If you are not careful, you'll be like, I have no choice than to feed on these bad news, because you open your television, it's bad news. Your friends come to you, it's bad news. You go to work, bad news. Everything is bad news. So if we are not careful, we are going to be soaked in this bad news. But like I said, there are so many rotten food around this hummingbird. But if it means that they should fly thousands and thousands of miles over the ocean just in order to be able to find that sweet nectar, they are going to travel. They are going to travel in order to get this sweet nectar. And it's a question to you. How many bad news, how many bad things are around you today? Some time ago, I think we all heard about a taxi driver who was murdered on Saturday. Israel Ejemenu. Israel Madam for pa. Menino ekwaso. Me call Ghana and say before Corona no kwa me call to no nam ne nam ne edin komo. Me ba ya nche. Ena me tea say news. You say driver be o match driver be a trinity. What? That was like even before say me who say Madam for. Me call Facebook. Israel Ejemenu has been married. And I'm saying, now Israel no or a driver. I called someone back home in your friend's house, sign SD. Omo confirm me say one. And I'm saying, why? So waba sorry and now omo friend who fear or dimirika coffee or also a taxi driver. To sunset now coffee or yeah the obey we no tnan came so or call rounds kakrebi just for the Sabbath. And now nipa or donya me who mobro ni mo bi dada and say fa me ko hane ko bo amina me fa no me bimra. And odinachi and one opportunity. The story up to date, Micaiah, Mejunhuamentias, Israel Jemenu, my soul friend. Say, if you really want to feed on bad news, I'm only saying, say, you are going to get it. If you want to feed on the sweet nectars, you are going to get it. They say, Bibia Uhishabia Wansaka. Bad news is taking over the world, but there are still sweet nectars. Let us travel as far as possible in order to get these sweet nectars, because God has appointed these sweet flowers to feed us. I have also learned that, of course, it is impossible to truly be happy while I am focusing on the bad things happening around me. It is impossible. It is also true that we won't be happy if we are dreaming about focusing on the bad, on getting better, a better house, or moving into a better neighborhood. That kind of focus is like the vulture who is searching for stuff that can decay. Inti mra nneɛma wei nyinaa ɛkɔ so na nneɛma ɛfa yɛ adwene na efi wura ɛtwe yɛn nneɛma bɔne atwa yɛn ho ahyia no. So yɛanhwɛ yɛ we may be taken in by these taunts of and snares of this life. But when we put our attention on God, we can be like the hummingbird who looks for and find the beauty instead of being like the vulture who only focuses on rotten things around him. So as the hummingbird moves, his wings are invisible to us. So when God is moving us, we don't tend to see it. But if we stay still, like I said, it takes an incredible amount of energy to be able to be still. But while you are being still, that is when God speaks. We notice there are some passages in the Bible when God is coming and from Dinachi, Dinachi, Moses Ekoje, your friend is saying, Castle Behun Yankupon, no Kwakoje, Emranse Muduno. Moses wanted to see God when that earthquake was happening. Moses wanted to see God when the wind was blowing so high. But in all this, Moses didn't see God. But when it went still, That is when Moses saw God. And until when God is moving to us, he comes in very slow. When you think God is too silent, that is when he's speaking. Because in every test, we always say, the teacher is silent during a test. Of course, he's going to teach you, he's going to educate you during the class for the whole term. But during the exams, he's always quiet and watching you to see what you are going to do. So when you see that God is still, God is quiet, he's using an incredible amount of energy just to get you back to him. The Lord is saying that I am about to do something new. Even now, it is coming. Do you not see it? Isaiah chapter 43, verses 19. There is so much I wanted to say about this hummingbird, and there are some connecting stories, but because of time, but I will entreat you to take one creature a day. Think about that creature. Think about the way it operates. Think about the incredible amount of wisdom, energy, because Nyankopon say, when we look at its creation, we are going to find his power. We are going to find Nitumi our the boss annual manina. The Nyankopon to me so better dear my we should look up to these things and we are going to find that miraculous touch of God in our lives. Nyankopon shirao na won shira men so e woni de monti. Amen.
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 Brother Pius, I say, well, Messi, when